project about to test antibiotics on the human flesh. What I wanted to figure out was to see if collecting bacteria from different locations and the effect it would have on chicken flesh. And then after we infect the chicken flesh with the bacteria, we use 3 different antibiotics that are commonly used by people in our society.
Are they antibiotics or antiseptics?
Antiseptics.
Antiseptics, okay.
One of them was Band-Aids, which is commonly used for scrapes. The other one was Vicks, which is also used a lot at home. And finally, Neosporin. These were the 3 different antiseptics that were used. And finally, we had a control group to see if what would happen if we didn't use none of these 3 remedies on the human flesh. And so basically,
what's the first thing you had to research in your lab?
the first thing I had to research was how was chicken skin and human skin alike. And we noticed that it was alike because the chicken skin had the layers of skin just like human skin, which protected the chicken skin from any bacteria or infection that would affect it. Another thing that was important for the next experiment was the bacteria rate that was growing and the bacteria rate and how fast it reproduces. And one thing that was known is that bacteria skin really grows on moist areas of the flesh. Additionally, another thing that was researched was the human skin and infection, how that works out. And we noticed that when human skin is dried up, bacteria tends to grow quicker and spreads faster. Finally, we researched the different type of bacteria that can grow and what it takes for the bacteria to grow. And looking at the bacteria that I got, which was from the school door handle, the bathroom, and Fergosa's laptop, we noticed that bacteria really grew on the chicken skin really fast because of the conditions it was in. In the heat, a lot of moist, and since the chicken skin was getting dried because of the heat, it really spread fast.
So talk to me about what your original hypothesis was. What did you think was going to happen before? Which one of your test groups did you think would defend against antiseptics the best?
So the hypothesis, if we cut the flesh chicken and infect it with bacteria, what antiseptic will cure it the fastest? And the hypothesis that was mostly tested and I thought would heal it faster was the Neosporin, which at the end was actually the one that healed quicker. And
so did it heal quicker or did it defend it best from the bacteria?
Both.
Okay.
It healed quicker because in the experiment, we got exactly the same chicken flesh pieces, and the same height, the same width, and the same depth. And we made a cut directly through the middle of the flesh. And at the end, we noticed that the Neosporin, when applied to both sides of the flesh, closed the quickest in 12 days. And also, it fought the bacteria because it had the most healed skin, which was 75% healed skin and 25% bacteria.
Where did you notice bacteria the most on that test group?
Well, that's a good question. And when we applied the Neosporin in between the wound, we noticed that bacteria grew around it, not inside the wound, which was very good.
So it just might have been some scientific error of where you applied it?
Yeah.
Did you have any other scientific errors that you noticed in doing your project?
Yes, another scientific error was the amount of antiseptic used. So
explain.
Yeah. So the Vicks and the Neosporin, we didn't use the same amounts, and we used a little bit more Neosporin because it tends to be used more, and it's more of a wet liquid than the Vicks, which is a little more hard. And that was one experiment. The other one was that I had to change my experiment from using chicken flesh to chicken skin, which was also because the thing that I originally wanted to test was chicken skin, which would try to prove what would happen to human skin since it's very similar. And since we changed it to chicken flesh, we got results more in depth of the skin.
I would agree with that. If you had $1 million in a whole year to redo this and re-research this exact same thing, what would you change?
One thing I would change was probably using not chicken skin, but maybe some other skin that is way more alike than human skin, or maybe try to clone human skin somehow. Another thing would be the antiseptics that I use, because maybe these are just used at home or in a society. Maybe use bigger ones that are used by hospitals or stuff like that.
Excellent. How did this tie into what you hope to study in other disciplines or in your future?
This really tied into what I want to grow into be, which is a nurse, and treating patients with wounds and seeing how bacteria spreads throughout the skin and the flesh is something that really can be proven here, because we notice how fast the bacteria grows and in the places it grows, which is very important.
Absolutely. If you were to say there was one aha or two ahas that you took out of this, things that you didn't know, things that you were surprised by, or just something that you're going to take with you after this project, what would those be?
First of all would be the Neosporin, which is very effective when it comes to combating bacteria, because not only did it combat in the flesh, which is deeper inside the skin, and that's one aha, that Neosporin works best when it comes to these type of scrapes. Another thing that I would take in would be how chicken skin reacts to bacteria and how dry it gets and how fast it reproduces on.
So are either of those going to change your personal behaviors or what you're going to encourage your family to do differently?
Yes, they will, because maybe when someone gets a wound and it's really deep, really getting like an antiseptic to heal would be the first thing to do. Because
and also how you're handling chicken. I mean, you never cut a chicken before.
Yeah, that's too.
And chicken is a great one for bacteria because it does grow bacteria very quickly. It's a very high bacteria.
When it comes to cooking,
that's exactly right. You got to be really careful with that. I guess my last question would be, as far as the learning targets, do you feel that this really helped you understand learning targets, and if so, which ones specifically?
Yeah, especially learning target number 21, because it really talked about how antibiotics and antiseptics are used on the skin, which is something that I really learned, because these things not only did they prove that some worked and some didn't, but they really proved that like Neosporin really is good when it comes to bacteria.
Show me your data table. I'm curious about the Vicks Vapor Rub. What did you notice about the Vicks Vapor Rub?
The Vicks Vapor Rub,
because I know that was one you really thought was going to do well, because it's something you see used at home a lot.
At home. At first, in the first 3 days, we noticed that it was doing good. The bacterial levels were really low. But when it came to the last 12 days, the bacteria really spread all around it, and even in the wound, which is something that...
So some things that you might want to think about would be maybe combining in a future test where you do like Band-Aid and Neosporin, Band-Aid and Vicks. And then the other thought was, you know, with big wounds, we do reapply antiseptic. So maybe that would be yet another one where if we were ever able to redo this again, like every 2 days, you would put the Neosporin back on it just to see if it would cease the growth or not.
Yeah, because in the experiment, we only applied it once.
Yeah. So I think this was a really original project. I hope that it leads you in the future, and it's something that you keep this project and report, because I totally could see you doing something like this as an internship, or even as your senior project to prove to people around the school exactly how to take care of wounds, and maybe even teach a first aid class on wound care and how to take care of your cuts. Very nicely done, sir. Thank you. Awesome.